That tastes good to you, hon? It hit the spot, huh? It'll go right down the belly, honey? Right in the middle of the belly? Girl, huh? It went right in the belly, huh? Good. Now you just chill, huh? Huh? That's my good girl, huh? Wow, honey. Good girl, huh? Hey, Dan, how you doing? Got a coffee? I'm staying up too late. So O'Reilly Auto Parts, this building's been done for a while and they're not doing anything there. I wonder what the deal is. Waiting to this COVID restrictions, but you can go in and get an auto part. Hey Blake, how you doing? I'm in West Branch. I just got up a little while ago. Been staying up late, reading, screwing around, reading books. I bought a book on the biology and the ecology of carp. It's a half off, still 75 bucks, which sounds nuts, and probably is nuts. But books like that, you know, they don't ever recoup their money. There's not too many people want them, unless you're some guy working on a PhD in fisheries somewhere. So they have to charge a lot. And this one was on sale, so I bought it because when I was a kid, that's all we did was catch carp, shoot them with bow and arrows, catch them on fishing lines. People smoked them, and it's really interesting. You know, koi are carp, goldfish are technically carp. But what really sold me on the book is their ability to adapt to toxic environments that kill everything else, like salmon, whitefish, game fish, sports fish. The old carp, they'll swim right through a gallon of lead paint and come out smelling like a rose. From an animal survival standpoint, that's impressive. Oh, in Dearborn, yeah, I lived there for 6-7 years over on Drexel, 639 Drexel, right next to the school. Those people, a couple people have owned it since I sold it in '92, and sunk a ton of money into it, which didn't really make a lot of sense, but wasn't my decision. It's nice looking. Also about 4 times more the value than when I owned it. This is West Branch, Michigan. So far we've been up for a very minor. This is nothing. Didn't even get that cold out. Yeah, I used to like Dearborn. It's a good town. They've hung in there, you know, considering the state of affairs pretty well. I go to that. I stay in that Red Roof Inn there in Dearborn when I come to town. Go down to Potbelly Subs. Hey, Mom Diddy, how you doing? I was in about a 4-year court battle with Dearborn over some pit bulls back in the late 80s. You know how Dearborn is. They were kind of still the way with pit bulls as they were with blacks in the 60s. I had to teach them a lesson. I wasn't a dog that was aggressive towards people. Going over there, Mom Diddy. You having a good day today? A lot of people going with these metal roofs. These metal roofs are expensive. I haven't been up to this spot in a while. I was getting too weak of a cell phone signal for a long time. Yeah, it's true. Pit bulls used to be, they've come back quite a bit. I mean, when I was in them, they were, banning them and putting them to sleep for no reason, every crazy thing you could think of. Just a bunch of ignorant people. They passed a special ordinance just to hassle me that if an animal control officer thought the dog looked aggressive, didn't need to show any aggression, just looked aggressive, they could seize it from you, which they did for me. I ended up getting him back, but it was a knockdown, drag-out fight. I had to teach him a lesson. Good view up here. That's I-75 right down there. That's the rest stop through those piles of snow. Wish they'd pile the snow someplace else. They're messing up my view. I'm gonna drink this coffee. I got my manual printed for my GoPro. Yeah, Staffordshire. Yeah, they claim that's the pit bull with the gameness bred out of it. Do you work, Mom Diddy, or do you stay home? Oh, 25-year-old. Wow. What did he die of? That sucks. There's people dying left and right. I used to, I did, oh my God, COVID. God, that's terrible. There was a famous radio station. They broadcast out of Windsor, Ontario. It was called CKLW. It's like this 50,000 watt signal. You could get it in 8 states when the weather was right. It was an AM radio station, but that was the thing at the time. And they always had these really people with super interesting voices, distinctive. And they were kind of dying out by the early 70s. Eventually switched formats, and all the good people died or moved. And I would say it was probably in the mid 80s I crossed paths with one of their famous news reporters. Grant Hudson was his name. That was his CKLW name. And I check on these guys occasionally, see how they're doing. You know, I worked at a gas station too off the expressway. There was another famous disc jockey that came in, Tom Dean. It was a country station. But anyway, I was doing some work for an insurance company, and it was related to some kind of claim. And I crossed paths with Grant Hudson. He had a wife that was ill with something. Super nice guy, and I went over to their house, and I didn't know that too. I was talking to at the time. Spent about an hour there talking to him, and that was it. But it was kind of cool to meet him, and he sounded, of course, just like he did on the radio. And I see he died in late December. They just announced it yesterday. There was a little article in the news. It's like these people are all, you live long enough, but when somebody's 25 and dies, that just doesn't make any sense. Oh, sleep apnea, no kidding. Oh. Hey, Mark. Yeah, sleep apnea. I mean, those sleep studies. I got a buddy that's a doctor that owns a sleep clinic. I mean, there's some validity to them. I was just, that guy that worked on my car when I was up in Sault Ste. Marie got a BiPAP. He said it really changed his life. Yeah, wintertime, that's my dad used to say. Mark, those battery-powered augers, they go through ice like a butter, hot knife and butter. They're also pretty expensive, about $550, $350, $450, and they're heavy, about 25 pounds. Amberlynn Reed? I don't know who that is. Amberlynn Reed. Unless you're talking about the red-haired Amber. No, they zip right through the ice like it's nothing, man. There's one called a Striker, Stryker something. And that's one of the more reasonable ones. Yeah, that thing just buzzes through that ice like it's nothing. I'm talking about an 8-inch bit and a foot of ice. You get like 200 drills with one, 200 punches. Hey, Diane. Yeah, I mean, the really good ones are like $1,200. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't, I mean, when you read up on them, they make it look like, unless you're an Olympic athlete, you're going to get tired, you're not going to be able to do it. But according to that guy I talked to yesterday, he said that kid drills through 6 inches like it's nothing. So you don't know who to believe. I just can't believe that you can hand auger easily 8 or 10 inches of thick, clear ice by just spinning a thing, man. I mean, I think there could have been a lot of air in the ice, that whitish colored ice that kid was drilling. But if you're just a regular fisherman, you go out there, you punch a couple holes in, and that's it. Is it really worth $550? It is a beautiful view. Yeah, this is a great view all year long. Love this view. Beautiful. It's a big dairy farm area. Of course, they're all barely hanging in there. Working for nothing. mean, you can either get a $10 an hour job at the casino now, or you can own a dairy farm and have every single dime you have tied up in this monstrosity of a bad business model. Work your balls off for 80 hours a week to make $15,000 a year if you're lucky. Forget that. Yeah, I think it is, yep. Oh, those snow buggies? Oh, you mean those guys out, you mean the snowmobiles or those ATVs? You know, with regard to the, ice fishing, they're going to have a thing. You can look it up on the internet. It's called Tip Up Town. You know, I was a kid. I was really into fishing and stuff. We didn't have anything else to do. It's a big deal. We blew them up with firecrackers, netted them, shot them with arrows, bullets, pellets. You name it, netted them. We were really into fishing, and I remember dreaming of going up to Tip Up Town. You know, that's where you're a kid and we're catching bluegills and crappies and nothing's ever breaking our line. Here you're looking up there and they're catching stuff that you see on the front cover of magazines. And then as I got older, I just lost interest in stuff like that. But it's a big deal. They had bands and all sorts of contests, and I don't know, it's not until February, but it's a good place to have it. The place that I was yesterday, that's Michigan's biggest inland lake. Houghton Lake. Very shallow. About 7 feet deep. Oh, lactose intolerant? Oh, okay. You could get coconut milk or almond. Hey, Aaron, how you doing? Oh, you like those ATVs? Yeah, they never really interested me for some reason. I like the ones they have on tracks. You know, like a piece of construction equipment. I always thought it'd be cool going out in a blizzard and driving around. The town that I go up and get pizza at once in a while, that's really big for ATVs. And even in this county that I live in, you know, they promote these places for ATV friendly. That means you can drive them on the highway. Yeah, I'm not, I hardly ever see snowmobiles. It used to be huge, but I just don't see them that much. You know, we haven't had the greatest conditions. I like just sitting out like this, watching birds and stuff. Ducks. Most everything headed south, long gone. You know, it's interesting how nature, how animals and hide. You know, you see one here and there, and then you look out here like now, and you just wonder how much wildlife's out there. Well, if you get a fresh snow, and you go back a day later, even though you never saw any in the daytime, it looks like they had the world's biggest concert. Coyote, fox, skunk, you name it. Just track deer, just tracks everywhere. When the old sun goes down, it's nighttime, the wildlife comes out. It's everywhere, tons of it. It's crazy how they hide. Oh, is it a big deal up there, Mark? Yeah, even people that live here, they go to the Upper Peninsula, where I was the other day up in Sault Ste. Marie. The state puts a lot of money into snowmobiling up there, groom trails, but now, I mean, a lot of it's been kind of monkey wrenched. Like even where I was yesterday in Houghton Lake, the bars are closed, the restaurants you can't eat in. So I mean, they're kind of limping along. You can take your snowmobile or your ATV up there, but once you're done doing that activity, there's nothing to do. Every place is closed. I mean, this COVID has absolutely wrecked the economy. These areas were struggling anyway, pre-COVID. Now you have a lack of snow. You can't do anything. It's just unfortunate. Seems like a bad movie. I was talking to a lady not far. She texted me last night. I was out in Antler, North Dakota, which I love. She lives in a little town called Tolly, which is about 50 miles from Antler. I mean, nothing out there. It's retired from the oil industry. And she said they don't have any snow, and it's been should be 23 degrees below, and it's in its 20s. So here I'm talking to you up in Toronto. No snow out there in North Dakota like there should be. Not much snow here. This looks like a lot because it was plowed in a big parking lot. But man, the weather has certainly changed. These winters are nothing. Trapdoor spiders. Yeah, I heard of that before. I was reading about spiders the other night. Do you know, I bought a wildlife magazine. I'm not a hunter, so I don't really want to see a bunch of pictures of deer hanging up on a pole and stuff. But I bought it because there were some pretty interesting articles in there. And one of the articles was on the black widow spider, which we have plenty of in Michigan. I've never seen one. And they talked about how the people don't die from them anymore. They have anecdote and blah, blah, blah. And that how the number one reason way people got bit was in outhouses for years, particularly men. And then, you went to indoor plumbing and stuff, and it was a lot less bites, but the black widows like to breed in outhouses. But anyway, I didn't realize it, but black widow spider poison is 15 times more toxic than diamondback rattler venom, which was surprising. And if you ever look where somebody gets bit by like a brown recluse or a black widow spider, I mean, there's necrosis. It really trashes the tissue near the area of the bite. Oh, really, Goblin? Okay. Yeah, I got it fixed. I got lucky. I called a place, got towed. I was out of there by 5 o'clock. Yep. And I'll tell you another thing too. You get bit by a spider or a snake, just for the hell of it, Google it. Now, Mark, you're in a little different position in Canada, but over here in the States, you get bit by a black widow spider or a Mississauga rattler, which is Michigan's only poisonous rattlesnake. This is no bullshit. You're looking at a 2 to 3 day hospital stay and $100,000 bill. Yeah, no kidding. Super expensive. There's a couple companies that have this anti-venom wrapped up. Yep. It's super expensive when you get bitten by something poisonous. There was a lady here that died about 3 years ago in Grand Rapids that got bit by a brown recluse. And they thought that it came in on a shipment of bananas, and she got it out of the grocery store. Yeah, and on the black widows too, they talked about how the female kills the male after they mate. That's how they got the name black widow. And then half the babies eat the other half when they're born. Yeah, they don't interest me. Now there was in that article that guy said that you could buy them for $16 on Etsy. Yeah, he's full of shit. No, you can't. Actually, it's against the law to ship a poisonous insect. Anything other than bees, it's a big deal. You can't. There's no place you can order black widow spiders on the internet right now. I looked my ass off just to see if this guy knew what he was talking about or not. The $16 ones are dead. They're ones that were preserved with some kind of chemical after they died. Yeah, you try and go on there. I looked. I was to see if there's somebody who was crazy enough to sell these things in the mail. You're not ordering any brown recluse spiders or any black widow spiders in the mail. Just some bullshit he added in this article. It destroys nerve tissue. All poisonous things do that. Look at where people are bit by a poisonous snake. Look what it does to the nerve tissue around the bite area. mean, it's nothing to get like a whole 12-inch, trench of tissue taken out because it was wrecked by the bite. Yeah, no kidding. I was actually, for a while, I was thinking of getting. I mean, I've bred camels, the single hump. I had 3,000 pairs of birds. I bred those. I bred koi for a while. I've had ant farms. I had 100 beehives at one time. I've always really been into like animal husbandry. I like interests me. I was thinking of getting into leeches or maggots for burn victims or tissue damage for chemical burns, what have you. And it just kind of bugged me that once they did their job, you killed them, and it didn't seem to me that there was any payback for Mother Nature doing this dirty deed. So it turned me off. But I would have happily done it for free, maggots and leeches for burn victims. But I just didn't feel like using Mother Nature in that way. There's a raven right there. Ravens are cool birds. Most of the time they're by themselves. That one's just singing as he's flying along. I've been up here long enough. I throw stuff out for the birds all the time. And these ravens and the crows too, I've watched them before. They'll be flying over. And where you threw a piece of bread and it sunk down in the snow, they're onto that. People think it's got to be laying on the top for them to see it. No way. Over the years, they have evolved to realize that what that hole in the snow represents. Food. No, I don't think I'm gonna go there today. I was just over there the other day. There's not much ice. Yeah, tarantula, I think they're pretty cool. Yeah, dig up food, yeah. But maggots do a fantastic job of, what do they call that? Defoliation? There's a name for it. De-something. When they eat dead tissue. They keep the wound clean. I mean, you're thinking like dirty maggots, which does happen, but there's a significant medicinal purpose for them. It's not defoliate. What do they call that? Debride. Debride. That's what it is. Hey, Mr. Train, how you doing? Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is, yep. There's a lot of good studies, too, on... there's a place now that milks black widow venom. They do it by electrical stimulation. And I was reading in this article, and it was talking about... they found that if you heat it above ambient temperature, the temperature in the area, that it damages the venom. Yeah, parasites. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? I don't know if you heard me say it earlier, but I bought a book on the evolution and biology of carp. To me, it's just interesting that there can be a species out there that doesn't get any help and survives in conditions where everything else has died, and the carp is one of those. They could swim around in a vat of lead paint for a year and still produce offspring. You even look at a salmon funny and he keels over. Same with the bald eagle. You talk about a pussy bird. But I think the national bird should be the starling, even though it's not indigenous. That's one hell of a machine, man. Another kick-ass bird is a cormorant. Swims around like a torpedo, pops out of the water and flies away. Bald eagle will drown if he gets wet, if he doesn't float to the shore. I'm serious. Bald eagles are fragile. Everywhere you go. I was out at Glacier National Park like 25 years ago, and they had like 100 square mile area blocked off because at the time they were coming back from like DDT. It made their eggshells thin. Yeah, but you don't get any help like that as a cormorant or a starling. They don't need it. You know, I worked at a wildlife rehab and got to hand feed some eagles, young ones and old ones. And you'd think that an eagle, a bald eagle, you look at it and you see their talons and their beak, and it's like he'd just tear you apart if you grabbed him. They don't. They make this cooing sound like a pigeon. And the only danger is their talons. They would, they're trying to stand up. They want to stand up on your arm. That's where you can get nailed. But once you cover your arm, they're not trying to bite you with their beak at all. Not one bit. It's crazy. You had to like pry open their beak to stuff food down it. Yeah, they look like they'd just be all over your ass, but it's the opposite. Tell you another thing that's surprising, how light a fox bites. Fox are like so light, man. They're like a feather. That's how you see them hopping around like they do. They can't bite hard at all. Hey, Faye, how you doing? Yeah, they're smart, yep. Yeah, carp cause a lot of problem, Of course, koi or carp, goldfish or carp, Asian carp. They were really worried about those in the Great Lakes, but never seemed to materialize. But it's as far as evolution in a species is concerned, they get A+. Oh, thank you, Jiggle. Yeah, hawks are super aggressive, masters it. They eat whenever they feel like it. We have a lot of red-tailed hawks around here. You'll see hawks sitting along the side of the expressway a lot. And the reason for that is people throw their food out, and rats and mice try and eat the food, and the hawks pick them off. When I was over at Taos Saturday, they told me there's a snowy owl hanging out there. Oh, dear, barred owls, they are so beautiful. No, Aaron, yeah, they're super intelligent. I was on the Canadian side of Glacier National Park about 20 years ago. I mean, you'd think you were in Switzerland. It's beautiful over there. And I was eating in this restaurant in the morning, and they had thrown seed out. And I was sitting right next to the window, and the glass went right down to the ground. And these birds are eating, and they're looking around. All of a sudden, you see this fox walking down the street, like trotting. And the bird saw the fox, and the fox just kept trotting like he walked by him. And you could see him look over. And those birds went right back to eating like that fox is just walking by, and he made a U-turn in a heartbeat, came around the corner of snow, and snapped and actually missed and hit his mouth on the glass, and all the birds got away. But he faked them out. He acted like he didn't see him and just kept on. And the minute he got on the other side of that bank, man, he made a U-turn. And I've seen him out in that golf course where I live. And they're super intelligent animals. I've got some pretty good video of a young fox I took a few years ago. Oh, are they really? A huge lion, really? They probably do. Yeah, slick. Wild turkeys are smart. People say, oh, turkeys are stupid. That's domestic turkeys. Wild turkeys aren't. They're very intelligent. I don't know what the grip strength is. It's a lot, though, I'll tell you that, because we'd wear these big leather things, and man, they just crunch down like you can't believe. I mean, I got some video here a couple weeks ago over on the Tittabawassee, or the Saginaw River over there in Carrollton, and you could see that bald eagle up there moving side to side on a branch. Oh, really, John? Yeah, desert fox, Rommel. Yep. No, yeah, I just saw some turkeys here a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I see them from time to time. But you're not saying a lot of this stuff. Ravens, crows. Try and get close to a raven or a crow. It's not happening. Like I got some video the other day, and I just happened to be in a Walmart parking lot. I guarantee you that raven knows that he's not getting messed with at Walmart's. You try and get that close to him out in the woods, it's not happening. You can tell pretty quickly when you cross paths with wildlife here whether or not they've been around people. Like that mallard the other day that I thought had a injured wing. Yeah, he was hiding his ass off. He didn't want to have anything to do with people. And there was a flock of mallards that were here about 2 weeks ago before the ice froze on Lake George. And I scared them twice, and I was 300 yards away by just opening my van door. Those aren't ducks that have been around people. They probably got hunted all fall long, and once they see a vehicle or a person, man, they're out of there. Yeah, ravens are super smart birds. Oh, is it 400 psi? Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It'd be around something like that. I've seen them out before the whole park got eroded away over at Taos Point State Park. I remember seeing them like in January when there'd be ice flows, and they'd fly right along the backside of that ice ridge, and you'd see them peeking out over there, seeing if they could nail a duck hanging out close to shore. Oh, I like to be a raven, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know they like that turkeys, yep. Turkey vulture is another interesting bird. Hasn't changed like in 105 million years. That's a smart bird too. Hey, COVID free, how you doing? Oh, thank you, Mom. You ought to hear it when my computer's not working right. My computer had a little glitch yesterday. You know, it's a laptop I use because I only have editing software on my laptop. I never put it on my desktop, and then the desktop's kind of outdated. So I'm looking to upgrade, but I don't want to have two copies of this editing program, one old and one new. So, that's why I keep using it. But I had a little glitch copying files last night. It was giving me a problem uh, transferring files from the hard drive to external hard drives. It looked like it was working okay by the time I shut it off. But I've got such a small hard drive on that, I constantly have to move files or it gets too big. I mean, an external hard drive doesn't give you the thumbnail like it does when it's on your computer. So, if I've got 30 videos on there, I got to click on them to see what it is, as opposed to, knowing what it is by a thumbnail on the file. Yeah, I looked into podcasts and stuff like that, but it just seemed like it was like too legit. Like takes the fun out of it, just winging and dinging it. Oh, I'll tell you what'll eat some fish is those blue herons and those white egrets. Yeah, they will. And it's funny when you look out there, it only takes them a couple seconds to swallow one. So you look out there and you see them standing around. You're thinking, that's no big deal. They're trying to catch a fish. Yeah, and then you'll realize about a month later there's no fish in there. They've eaten them all. Where they get most of them is early in the morning. Yeah, they really decimate a fish population. So will those cormorants. I'll tell you what else eats fish by the ton is loons. You ever see a loon swimming underwater? You're not going to believe it. And by the way, they don't use their wings at all. It's feet only. But if a loon ran into you swimming underwater, he'd break your legs. I'm not shitting you. They are fast. Yeah, dive really deep, yep. There's a nesting pair that's been coming back to that lake where I take Daisy, Lake George, and we got all that crazy high water this year, and I never saw any babies. And I asked people all the time, to see those loons, babies? Nobody ever did, so I bet their eggs got trashed. The males and the females separate over winter. Can you believe that? And they come back and hook up for the spring, even though they're not even together all winter long. That's pretty damn impressive. And even though I'm interested in birds, and I read a lot about them a lot, I just learned here a couple months ago that robins migrate at night. Yeah, they migrate at night. It's crazy. It's nuts. Bird migration is super fascinating. You look at the distances these birds travel, doesn't even seem possible. I did tried beekeeping up here, but if you put a hive in the open, every damn thing in the winter that doesn't hibernate eats them. That's one problem. And then you got insecticides because of the farming. That's two. So scratch that. And then everywhere else, we've got such tall trees, and the sun's at such a low deck angle that I just, bees need heat even in the winter. Even though they cluster and create heat, you still need that sun. Nature, they pick a spot instead of, depending on some dumbass like me thinking where I think it'd be a good place for them to live. You don't see bees freezing to death in areas they pick to live in. It's only dummies like me and other people with beehives that put them in these places that doesn't have where you don't have the aptitude they do. They figure this stuff out. I don't know how they do it. So I just quit doing it because every spring they'd all be dead. It's like, I don't want to. What kind of animal husbandry is this? I think a lot of it is too. If you ever look at studies, I don't care whether it's hatchlings, little baby trout, whatever they stock a lake with, bees that are raised, queens, and package bees that you get through the mail. I think it's the pussy bees and the pussy fish. When you're in an environment and you're raised in a tank, it's not the fittest survive. So you get a lot of pussies that survive that get put in lakes that would have been eaten before because they had low IQs and couldn't escape. And when you got mankind raising queens and selling package bees, you got these pussy bees that were just growing up in an environment where there was no threat, and they just didn't evolve to be like grade A survivors of the elements. That's just my theory. Because stuff that makes it on its own with no human intervention seems to do so much better. I think it just produces a better gene pool. Yeah. I have, Mom, did. Isn't that cool? Well, Europe, that's how we got the starling. Yeah, around 1912. Farmers hate them, man. They'll go through. So are those sandhill cranes, those big, beautiful birds that you see flying at winter in Florida. They'll sit down. They'll pick out every damn seed you plant in about an hour. So, it's like anything. It's all on what side of the fence you're on. If you're a attractive MILF that married a rich guy that lives in Birmingham, and you just got two big new tits for Christmas, you're going to think a wolf is just a big cuddly animal that should never be killed and that they need protection. If you raise chickens or lamb or livestock, and you wake up some morning and 85% of what you've had is dead and injured, you want to put a bullet right between the eyes of a wolf. So it all depends on what side of the fence you're on. And starlings, if you're a farmer, you want to kill them all. They bust farmers for poisoning starlings. They catch them. There was one guy that Bush pardoned that was just getting cleaned out by wolves out west someplace, and he poisoned them. And then the bald eagles ate the carcass of the wolves, and they died. He got like 30 years in prison. So, all that stuff like that, it all depends on your interest in the equation. Like these wackos that stormed the Capitol. You got these NASCAR, beard, Bud Light drinking, tramp stamp women living in a lean-to in Kentucky. They think they're fighting for their rights by storming the Capitol. You got someone with a PhD that has a good life that wants to protect it. They think that all these people should be arrested and that they're nuts. So it's like anything. There's two sides to every story. When people get divorced and they say, oh, I just can't believe they're getting divorced, you don't know what people are like until you lived with them. Hey, Bertha. Yeah, you just never really, you don't know. You have no idea. It's just like the working girls. Unless you've been down there and you're, like look at Kelly now. Daughter just died. On Suboxone, no job, in her 50s, going home to a place with no heat, no electricity, no running water, no bathroom, just laying down on a cot. Those got to be some long nights. So people say, well, why don't you just... I'm not knocking Kelly, and I wish the best for her. I will try to help her. But the reality of it is, if Kelly had the tools to have changed her situation in life, she wouldn't be there. I mean, on the outside, it seems like, well, why aren't you just pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and getting a job? And yeah, well, you can do that because you have the skills to position yourself to never get that far down in the hole. She didn't. No, Mark, I don't think so. I don't think it would have mattered. No. Like in Canada, you've got a different situation that we have. But over here, if you're rich, there's no problem. Or if you're flat broke, there's no problem. It's the middle class that's got the problem. If Sarah would have been making $40,000 a year, she would have been absolutely screwed. I mean, I don't know the details of that, so I don't want to speak on something when I have little information. But just from what I pieced together, I think there could have been a chance to where I had heard that she had checked herself out of hospitals against doctor's orders. The street life, it's a lifestyle that you can't explain unless you've been there. And I just don't know whether, it could have... Same with Sarah. I mean, if she'd have had a different skill set, she maybe could have got out of there. And if she had what a lot of people that criticize Kelly and her have, there'd have been a way out. Like a guy told me one time, the way you think is going to determine how your life turns out. It's going to determine who you're attracted to, the kind of jobs you want, the kind of living environment you're going to be in. It's going to determine if you want to get high or you want to learn trigonometry sober. All these things are eventually going to culminate into who you are as an adult. You can be someone that's working a full-time job and making extra money, working a part-time job. You can be someone that's 50 years old, living with your mother, smoking dope all the time, talking like a valley girl living in Flint. Yeah, I'd like to know what eventually caused the kidney damage. Just out of curiosity. I'd never ask her. It's none of my business. Could have been a million things. She could have had a genetic predisposition. I mean, look at some people that lived to 100 years old that have been. My dad would live to almost 90, and I had a grandfather that lived to almost 100. Alcoholics. I mean, their liver should be in the Smithsonian. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I don't. I know she had a problem with an infection. I don't know what finally led to that. Well, most ringneck pheasant programs, people don't realize, are managed programs. I mean, that's a Chinese bird, a ringneck pheasant, and it's really not suited to these kind of latitudes in the winter. The successful places are managed programs. And now that farming is more efficient now and they've changed it, that's why you don't see too many ringneck pheasants around like you used to. Everything has changed. Number one, the environment isn't right. Number two, farming has changed. And number three, it's just they were behind the 8 ball from day one. If you go to the places where they were shooting these things out of the sky in the fall, those were raised and hatched by management programs. There are still a couple places in Iowa and South Dakota where, because of the corn farming, where they do okay. CRP changed things, government programs with property that was set aside for wildlife. I mean, ringneck pheasant hunting isn't anything like it used to be, and it's because some Jewish guy isn't hatching 10,000 eggs and letting them go every September. Hey, Mary. You're right, Lana. Yeah, it's true. Yep. Tylenol trashes a lot of kidneys. Tylenol does. Liver, too. You're right. Patent medicines, which are medications that you can buy over the counter, some of them do more organ damage than prescriptions. And the reason for that is when you get a prescription, you get that big 8-page printout that spells out all the perils of taking these in a different way than prescribed. But when nobody's talking to you and you go to Walmart and you buy your big 1,000 generic brand of Tylenols, you tend to eat them like jelly beans because they're bright blue and bright red, and you swallow a handful and your pain goes away. You don't realize you're trashing your organs even though they've tried to placard it on the bottle. No one's double warning you at the pharmacy checkout. Oh, no kidding, John. Oh, that's cool, Bertha. Yeah, that's one thing where, when you look at, there's some pretty good studies on alcohol and drug use with the developing brain. That's true. Yeah. Taking, heavy marijuana smoking as a teenager. Hey, Shamjulin. Yeah, ibuprofen. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. A big thing is Tylenol and alcohol. Drinking and taking medication at the same time. That's right. No, they do, Faye. Yeah, you're right. It's hard to get good data on from people, but, and I'm not saying that this happened in this case, but you gotta wonder what's going through the mind of a girl like Sarah. I mean, the mechanism that keeps somebody there and the mechanism that makes somebody want to get out. Becky has no interest in living a different lifestyle. Tassie did. Why? And even when you talk to him about it, it's really not well defined. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I haven't taken any in a long time. I mean, here I am. I think my blood pressure was high, and I was taking Wellbutrin too, and it made it even higher. I mean, when I started back on that stuff, it was like, man, something is not right here, and I suspect it was blood pressure. Your blood pressure raises during the night sometimes. But I remember I was having like these crazy ass nightmares. One night I woke up drenched in sweat and Debbie was laying next to me nude. I've been sleeping good, yeah, pretty good, yep. I have been, yep. Yep, mom using drugs pregnant. I'm pretty sure my mom was a drunk when I was born. How's that for a nightmare, Kim? Shit, I quit taking those pills that day. Yeah. I was just happy that it was a nightmare. Yeah, that's a stressful job you have, you know? Yeah. No, I'm not overweight. No, no. I mean, I probably am. If you look on one of those charts, I probably am, but I don't think I am. I'm 5'10". I weigh 220. I mean, I think maybe on one of those charts. Those charts. I don't know who comes up with these. According to one of those, I should weigh like 160 or something. I mean, I am if you ask a person, but if you go on one of those charts, there's a crow. Yeah, no, you're right about that. Yeah, no, I think blood pressure. I mean, I think it runs in the family. I've been taking this medication. I know it's down. I'm gonna get my workup here in a couple of weeks. Get my catch-up thing because I got on Medicare. Oh, thank you, intellectual. Yeah, but I mean, I mean, if I weighed 160, it wouldn't look right. I don't think. I mean, where do they get these people? Are they all a bunch of David Bowie lookalikes? 160, 5'10". What, you got to be a concentration camp victim? I mean, that's not real. Yeah. Oh, I'm still drinking coffee. You better believe it. Charts of guides. I got a big coffee right here. I just drinking. Got it next to my KY jelly. Oh, you think it's a guide, Mom Diddy? Okay. Well, what's it a guide for? Like, this is what I mean. It's a guide to where they think you should be, isn't it? I mean, what kind of guide is that when I look like I was gonna die if I fit that profile? Yeah. Oh yeah. Burning love. Burning love. Oh, no kidding, Faye. Hey, Blue, how you doing? Oh, you quit? Good for you, Kim. It's hard to quit. It's more addictive than crack. We're just talking about everything, Watson. KY jelly, crack, heavy bones. Good, how you doing? Oh, are you? That's okay, Mr. Train. No, I know, Lana. We got a bullshit winter up here too. Yeah, this winter sucks, man. Here we are in the middle of January. It still isn't shit. I want like a big ass blizzard, cars all over the place, police flashers, cop cars stuck. I want to see that damn. Let's put it this way. Usually I've changed my batteries in my sensor for my thermometer about 3 times by now. You know, it's getting down to 0, 5 below. Shit, I'm going on 2 years now on the same batteries in that damn thing. The damn thing thinks it's summer out. You too, Watson. Yeah. Yeah, that's about how it is. Hey, Italy, all right. Mild winter. Yeah, I was talking to a lady last night out in near Antler, North Dakota. Nothing out there, too. No snow, not cold. I remember I was in that damn Wall Drugs parking lot one time about 20 years ago. It was like 2 feet of snow in like 6 hours. It was so great. Another time I went up to Copper Harbor. They got like 19 inches overnight. I was up in Glacier National Park on the Canadian side. They got bombed one time. I was in the second and third worst snowstorms in Chicago. It was fantastic. Ah, yeah, it sucks. 60s in Denver. God damn, man. I mean, Denver, you're supposed to be having some of these just spontaneous, unpredicted snow bombs out of nowhere where you get like a foot in an hour. You know, that crazy Denver. Here it's 60s. Now, I wonder on the levels of the skiing. They probably have snow up there, but I bet they're making snow too. You know, as I said the other day, it's expensive to make snow, especially if you're going to get warming temperatures. If you got to make a bunch of snow and it stays cold, it's worth it. But if you've got to make a bunch of snow and it's above freezing, it's not worth it. It costs a lot running those turbines. A lot of fuel. Yeah, John, you know, that sounds stupid. I mean, I'm not a mechanic, but I didn't think that was possible. If that would have happened to me going over the bridge or going 80 miles an hour up in the UP, which everybody does because the speed limit's 75, that could have been a different story. Yeah. It goes to show you, man. I mean, you know, I'm not saying this is even a remote possibility, but when you're going over the Mackinac Bridge, the speed limit's 45 for a vehicle, and that railing is not that high. It's not. They got like that foot circular barrier there that your tire's supposed to hit. And then they've got that rail that's like maybe 4 feet high. It's not high. It's not like your fender's catching it at the headlight. It's low. Now, and it pulled to the right. And I'm usually in the right lane when I go over there. But even doing 80 miles an hour, if that came off, because you're not going straight any longer, you're going to go wherever it feels like going. It's something to definitely, I'll never let those get that worn again. I didn't think that was possible. Oh shit, it'll kill your ass. It happened to Dolly too over the weekend. There's spilling the tea. Yeah, shit, yeah. Spilling the tea with Sharon V. Where's these interviews? No, but what happened is if you looked at the van from the front, the left tire was all the way pointing like it was making a right turn, and the right tire was pointed like it was making a left turn. Come on, Sharon, get going with it. Spilling the tea. Yeah, I'm glad it didn't happen there because I'm telling you, it might, maybe it like, I don't know. I've never seen anything run into the thing, but you know, if I was going over the Ambassador Bridge, I wouldn't be too worried about it because that's a big, robust looking, all sorts of shit, cables and metal and I-beams. But the Mackinac Bridge doesn't look like that, and it's kind of low. It's kind of low. Yeah, well, I'm gonna next time. Spilling the tea with Sharon V. Well, I am going to get the whole front end redone. I'd be up there right now getting it done, but it looked, you know, the Mackinac, the straight, the Sault Ste. Marie, the locks closed Friday. I happen to have a dental cleaning Friday too. But I thought about going up there today and just getting a hotel and have this guy redo the front end, but it was kind of sketchy on how many ships were going to be coming through there. And I just didn't want to fool with it when I had to be back by Friday. You know? I mean, it's fun being up there if there's ships going through the canal. There's nothing to do if there aren't. Sorry about that, you guys. My battery's getting low. Well, my battery's about ready to die, you guys. So you guys have a good day today. I'll be on the night for sure. Hi, Sharon.